Did you know that 1 out of 10 Indians are one illness away from poverty? Did you know that in the last decade, out of pocket health expenditure on hospitalization came down dramatically from 64% to 39%? Hello and welcome to another edition of Capital Calculus. I am your host Anil Padmanabhan. Last week, the Union Government released the latest estimates for the national health accounts. These detail the health expenditure at the individual and national level. There were two big takeaways. One, that public spending on health had witnessed a significant jump. Second, the out-of-pocket expenditure by households witnessed a steep decline. Take the two together and what we have is a signal that India's health quotient is on the mend. This is great news, especially given the fact that most Indians are just one illness away from poverty. In fact, this is the title of a very compelling read written by a former IAS officer turned academic, Anirudh Krishna. To unpack these findings and to examine the veracity of these facts, I spoke to Indranil Mukhopadhyay. He is a health economist and professor at the Jindal School of Government and Public Policy. I began by asking Indranil to share his thoughts on the latest estimates of the national health accounts.
There are two trends that are crucial here. One is the increase in public spending on health, which has made significant jump in the last three rounds specifically. The other is the decline in out-of-pocket expenditure as a share of total health expenditure. So I have certain reservations on this decline out-of-pocket expenditure share, and I'm going to talk about it. But before that, let me spell out the public spending bit crucially. So, globally, when we compare public spending on health or set health spending as a whole, we take current health expenditure. And in India, for few latest years of health accounts, we are presenting total health expenditure, which includes current health expenditure as well as capital expenditure. Now, as many of us would appreciate, that capital spending, which happens, say, for 1 year, the effect of that continues for many years. If you built a hospital in 1 year, make 500 crore investment on a hospital, that infrastructure will run for 50 years. So globally, it has been a practice that we report current and capital separately. So, and that's how we are able to compare countries over time. So the actual figure of public spending on health, if we have to see, it has to be seen as a current health expenditure, current public spending on health as a percentage of GDP. So roughly it will come to say around, it, so it is, so it should be around 1.5%. This is still a significant increase from, say, 1920. But then the point is, these are COVID years, 2020, 21, 22. So a lot of disruptions happen, but throughout the world and also in India, government stepped up to spend a lot of money. So, and we see an increase subsequently. At any point, given overall very low level of public spending on health in India, any increase is an welcome trend. So even if our current current government health expenditure as a percentage of GDP increasing from 1% to 1.5% is a considerable increase. But you have to also keep ourselves reminded that these were COVID years where we had seen our GDP tank. So GDP declined significantly. So some 20%, 15% decline in GDP in real terms. So the denominator has shrunk, and that's why you see a high public spending. Uh, If you look at, say, in per capita real increase in public spending, the increase is not that significant. So my point is, I'm repeating. One, don't read too much into this as a percentage of GDP figures because the denominator has shrunk. Other point is that in real terms, there is an increase, but it is not as sharp as it looks like. Okay. Then let us break this public. Sorry, yes, go ahead. You had a
No,
question.
no, I just wanted to take you back to that out of pocket expenditure which you mentioned. No, that has seen a big spike. Sorry, decline, the other way
Decline.
around.
Right.
Yes, and it's a very sharp fall, but it's a acceleration of a trend which has been visible for at least a decade now. So
Right.
why did that acceleration happen, and what was the kind of tipping point?
There are few things I need to say here. First point is you will see that since 2017-18, out of pocket decline has been very sharp. We have to spend a bit of time to explain how out of pocket is measured. Sorry. Much of the out of pocket expenditure estimation comes from a large household survey, which is organized by National Sample Survey Office, NSF. It's consumption and morbidity on health round. And the latest round is the 75th round, which was done in 2017-18. And then for rest of the years, we have done some adjustment to that, extrapolated it for other years. We have written extensively in social media, in our paper is forthcoming in EPW and in other newspapers I have written extensively that 2017-18 round NSSO had problems. It showed decline in hospitalization. Like less people are accessing hospital care, which is very unlikely in any situation. It also showed that fewer people are reporting that they fell ill, which is also very unlikely. When I'm saying fewer, when I'm saying lesser, I'm comparing with the earlier round, which is 2014. So in these 4 years, how come people became healthier? They are not reporting ailments, they are not reporting hospitalization. So if you do not capture these things well, obviously out of pocket expenditure will also show a decline. And that's what happened in this 17-18, that we saw that in real terms, actually out of pocket decline. So this out of the whole out of pocket estimation, NSS contributes more than 95%. Now, over years, what are you doing is just doing few adjustments with prices. You are trying to project for future years. So, if your base data is underrepresenting the whole of out of pocket expenditure, the future projections will automatically be erroneous and will show underestimate. That's what is happening.
According to Indranil, there are serious flaws in the data put out by the national health accounts. While this may be the case, I was curious to know as to why is it that the mission mode effort to provide toilets and drinking water, which has led to the decline in instances of diarrhea, are not figuring in reductions in out of pocket expenditure.
So, which diseases can be addressed or say prevented having toilet? Can we address malnutrition with toilets? To some extent, but not entirely. Can we address non-communicable diseases with toilets? No. We can prevent diarrhea and deaths related diarrhea. That also not deaths, but having diarrhea, the morbidity related diarrhea. And if you look at the NSS, that base data, it doesn't show a decline in diarrhea. What it shows is that lesser people are suffering from mental health, lesser people are suffering from cancer, lesser people are suffering from NCDs. Can toilet explain these? Are we really suffering less from mental health challenges? And you are extrapolating that. You see, so if communicable diseases were coming down, I could have still accepted your hypothesis that okay, maybe they're gone. But the decline was more in terms of non-communicable diseases, so which is hard to explain using preventive care. And as we are aging, more and more people are going to have. By the way, the main part of infant mortality decline is pre 2015, 2016. And one major contributor to infant mortality or under 5 mortality has been diarrhea. So much of the progress on that front had already happened because of national health measures. So more than morbidity, they could prevent mortality. Of course, toilet is also has an important role in ensuring women's safety rather than preventing diseases, along with preventive diseases. But our data do not support any decline.
So, for the benefit of our viewers, Indranil, because we are not specialists, we are not experts like you. So, you're saying two, three things today. One, you're saying that the data on which the NHA has made these claims may be overstated, and final word can be stated only once the fresh survey is done and the data is revisited, right?
Right. Right.
Correct?
Absolutely. Yes. We
Okay.
can use some existing data to make these estimates better. It's not that there is no data. That's the other point.
Okay. Second, the point is that a host of preventive measures have been taken. So maybe, in health is never linear. So you cannot say I did this initiative, so this outcome happened because it's a wholesome thing. So when you do preventive, you're also doing mitigation at the same time. So net, when you add mitigation plus preventive, how do you see this impacting India's health quotient as of now and going forward? We'll come back to the aging issue separately, but overall, as a health quotient, how is it impacted so far and what does it look like going forward?
So overall, if we take both preventive and curative together, we need more investment. We need more investment on water supply, drink. There is huge scarcity of quality water in urban areas. People are using private sources to buy water. So when we make those big claims, maybe could be some improvements in urban areas, but some improvements in rural areas, but urban situation has to be assessed properly. Actually, we don't have a census. How do we know what is happening to the urban people? So, data is crucial to make any of these claims. But overall, I agree with the spirit of your question that if we do some of these preventive things better, can we have better health for the population? Of course. But it doesn't get reflected in the investment numbers. Have we spent enough on urban water supply, urban sanitation, urban primary care? No. Unless that happens, and in a rapidly urbanizing society to make big claims, rapidly aging society to make claims on elderly people would be problematic. We need more numbers. That then only.
Related,
Yes. Sorry. Go ahead, please.
re, no, no, related to this aging question, I wanted to ask you that a lot of people keep harping about India's young demography, but demographers have frequently flagged that it is, the birth rate is falling, plus people are having children later than normal, and due to atomistic families and urbanization, India's population is not really growing as fast as the demographic data seems to project. So India may actually be aging faster. So that is one concern. Second is when you are so young, 65% less than 35, when you grow old, you also grow old in a big chunk. So you have just pointed out that India is underspending on health. If you add this aging population to it, how do you see the health spending play out ideally going forward?
See, this is one of the key challenges. And what we need is now the focus had been so far to a great extent for right reasons on focus of public spending has been on preventive care, on maternal and child health, so that deliveries are safe, so that children survive longer. Now, for a large part of the country, particularly in the southern and western parts of the country, that challenge has been overcome to a great extent. I'm not saying it's uniform. We still, for large part of the central India and north, primary maternal child health care remains a key challenge. We need to address that. But for these countries, we need to think about care for non-communicable diseases. And here, we also need much of home-based care, palliative care, rehabilitative care. So we have really paid zero or little attention on these things. So when as we are transitioning, we need that. And that also means huge investment. Other thing we have to keep in mind, which we have not brought into conversation today, the impact of climate change on health. It's going to play out very significantly, much quicker than we anticipated. So if we do not have a resilient health system, neither will be able to address the problem of aging, nor will be able to address the problem of non-communicable diseases, nor climate change. Some of the non-communicable diseases are affecting younger adults as well. Earlier, cardiac attacks at the age of, say, below 40, 50 was limited. Now, a lot of people are having cardiac attacks. So, we need to also understand that NCD burden for this huge set of people who are transitioning would be quite heavy. And we need to make investments. Right?
In the final analysis, it is clear that India's health quotient is on the mend. This is largely due to a happy convergence of both mitigation and preventive strategies. The big question is it sufficient? Obviously not. And as Indranil pointed out repeatedly at that, India has to do much more. And rightly so. The onset of the COVID-19 pandemic made the world in general and India in particular realize how health is so critical to national security. So, a healthy India is a secure India. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to StratNews Global on YouTube. Hit the bell icon so that you don't miss any updates. And please do share your thoughts, ideas and suggestions with us. I'm available on Twitter at capitalcalculus. I'll be back next week with another episode. Till then, stay safe.